Hi and welcome to another training video, and today's video is going to be looking again at AutoCAD. And here we have let's say a typical classroom or office, and this is comprised of three separate blocks. So one block is made up for the desk, another one for the chair, and another one for a PC on the desk. Now what you may notice is that the chair has been correctly set up and it has some attributes. Now they have all got a default value, which is default. So when you insert the chair block, if you choose not to change any of the attributes, they still come in with a default value anyway. The desk has also been set up the same, but the PC has been set up with no attributes at all yet. So the first thing we're going to look at is how we would add attributes to all of the computer blocks. I'm simply going to select one of them, and I'm going to go into the block editor. So I do need to go into the block editor, and I need to make sure I'm editing the PC block. Now here I'm in the editor. I'm going to add or insert and then define an attribute. So the attribute I'm going to insert, let's call this the make, for example, a make of PC. Now it's a good idea to actually put in a default value here. I'm just going to put in default, the word default. Now what you may well do is you may well make these attributes invisible, and it's a real good idea to have lots and lots of attributes on a block. Then it's a good idea to have several of them as invisible, otherwise you get quite cluttered. Here I'm going to leave it visible, and I'm just simply going to put that on the back there. Now I'm going to say close the block editor and save all the changes. Now you'll see that that's not actually fed through to the one that I edited. So let's actually go in there and let's say manage attributes. Now it says for what, and up here I have the various different blocks. I'm going to go into PC and I do have the make, and it says default, but the text hasn't come up here anywhere. Now the reason for that is because I haven't actually synchronized this block here with the saved block. So what I now need to do is hit the sync button, and now every single one of these PCs will now have the attribute with the same settings, which are the word default. Now I can click OK. Now what I can do is double click on that one, and I could change this individual attribute and this individual attribute. So I'm changing them individually to what I want them to be. Okay, so there's how you actually set up attributes across the board when the attributes aren't there at all. Okay, let's look at another thing that we can do, because what we may want to do is we may want to select, let's say, all of these objects within the room, and now I want to change them. So these attributes here, sorry, I should have said these attributes are things like the cost, the weight, and so on, of the desk, of the chair, for example, and also the room number. So let's imagine we want to set them all so they all have the same room number. Now I'm not going to be able to do that for the PCs because they don't have the tag or the attribute for the room number yet. We could of course go in and add one exactly the same as we did for the make, but it is very important that when you do that, when you add the tag, you also add in a default value, even if it is just the word default, and that's what I tend to use, is the word default. Okay, what we're going to do now is, with all of this lot selected, we're going to go across to our Express tools and we're going to export all of these attributes. I'm just going to export them onto my desktop, and I'm going to leave it called, in fact I'll call it room. This will go as a text file. I hit save. Now I'm simply going to open up Excel, and in Excel I'm going to open that text file. So I'm simply going to say open, and I'll browse to my desktop, and I need to set Excel to view all files, and there's my room text. Now this is me opening the file as text from Excel rather than inserting the text file into an Excel file. The difference is, when I do this, I have to go through the process of defining how it opens the text file, but when I save it, it saves it as a text file. If I import the text file into an Excel file and then save it, it stays saved as an Excel file, which doesn't work for this. So what we have here is, I've said my data has headers because it does come through with handle, block name, and so on. I'm now going to hit next. You'll see it's separated them, and it's assumed that the separator is a tab, so the delimiter is a tab, which is correct. Hit next. Shows me example. Now I could get to choose if there's data types here. I don't need to do anything on that, so I'm just going to hit finish. Okay, what I can see here is all of the different blocks that I've got in the drawing and the different values that are set for them. So the makes, these are the PCs, these are the desks and the chairs. So we have a bunch of settings down here. These are the two that I changed, HP and Dell. Let's imagine all of the rest are also HP. I type in HP, Control Enter, and that just puts in that value for all of them. Now let's imagine all of these are in the same room. So I simply select the whole lot. Let's say it's room 112. Again, Control Enter. They all now have the value for the room 112. At the moment, let's imagine all the computers, the HPs are all one value, the Dell will be another. I could simply come up here, put filters on, and do some filtering and change the values like that. So that would be a useful way of doing it. What we're going to do instead is we're going to just assume that we've got all of these for free so far. So click on the top one, Control Shift down takes you to the bottom of the list. I'm going to put in a pound value and 0. Again, Control Enter fills in the 0 value for all of my selection. Now I'm simply going to hit save. You'll notice that this is saved as a text file, and that's what saving there saves as text. So I can shut this file down and come out. Now here on the Express Tools, where we exported the attributes, we can now import the attributes as well. I simply navigate to the same location, and all of those attributes have now been imported, and if I zoom in, you'll be able to see them. So if the attributes are visible, room 1112, the room number has appeared, the 0 value has appeared, and the other attribute that we didn't change still remains as the default. This one is HP, this one is Dell, all the others are now HPs. So there's how you would actually select multiple objects, export them into Excel, do some filtering or whatever you want to do, change the attributes in Excel, and then import those attributes back from the text file that you've edited in Excel. The important thing to note is I can't export attributes unless the attribute actually has a value. So if I'd set up that there with make as the attribute but hadn't put in a value for it, there's nothing to export. So it won't just export the tag for the attribute, it has to have an actual value in it, and that's why I'd set default where I hadn't actually predefined a value. So you must always have something in there for this to work. Then once you've selected the items, you can export the whole of the contents of a room by simply clicking and dragging across them. That selects all of the objects within that room. I can export the whole lot and then set the room attribute to the room number that I want. I then import the attributes back in, and that will update all of the attributes within my drawing, whether I've got them selected or not at the time. So it's not just exporting and importing selected. The export will be on selected. The imports will be according to the tag of the block. So if I go back into that there, I will have to go through this process again just to get it to do the right. The handle or the tag, this is the identifier of the block. So this is how it actually knows where to put the attributes when it brings it back into AutoCAD. So even if I don't have anything selected here, if I import the attributes, they will go onto the right blocks because the blocks are identified by the handle or the tag. Okay, that's it in a nutshell. This was to answer a specific question that one of my viewers had. I hope it's been useful for you, and once more, Thank you for listening.